All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new session of Civil War Alliance here. It has been so very long since we've had any of these sessions, so it's going to be interesting to get back into. Lots changed since the crossover event. If you missed that, you missed quite a good bit of role-playing and storytelling from all of our players, so it was pretty worthwhile if you want to take a few hours to sit back and rewatch it and see what you had missed. But on that note, let's look and see what we got coming up. Entropy tomorrow, our Tomb of Annihilation playthrough resumes tomorrow, 7:30. Then we're back on Tuesday for Tyranny of Dragons. Back here again on Wednesday for Empire. It's their official return back as well. Fate's back here Thursday. D&D replay Friday. Nothing this coming Saturday. Our next Alliance game is September 1st. And our next Giants game will be a week from Wednesday on the 29th. So we hope to see you there for that. That pretty much covers everything. Let's see if everybody is ready to go here. You guys good over here?
I'm good.
Yep.
Yo. Okay. Okay. So, I don't have a prepared note here for the recap, so I'm gonna cover
just put everything's on fire.
Literally gonna just cover what's important, because at this point, so many bad things are going on. You guys left from the island of Rainhaven and made your way towards the Obeek's Cave for this meeting for an armistice to basically put down your weapons and not fight long enough for you to be able to deal with the incoming threat of Tyrus the Ascended. You departed, though some bad things took place. A certain temple has unleashed some undead, and it's slowly making its way out of the portal that you had taken to get into it. As you left the island of Rainhaven and kept a few of the guards and even some of Skytarna's crew behind to help watch for the undead invasion, you boarded the Rotten Mangrove and made your way to Obeek's Cave, and attempting to kind of settle in the night before everything kind of was going to take place. As you're sitting at Obeek's Cave and kind of wandering around, getting to know some of your Imperial counterparts, you did get to interact with some of the leaders and other people, and even, as I mentioned, your counterparts, to figure out a little about each other and kind of where things stand and where things are going to go. And as you're wandering around, it was Lorgus who learned that the people of the Riverstride clan would not be supporting the Alliance, thanks to someone's communication within the Labyrinth of the Morning Dragons and attempting to communicate with the one known as Raithis, the Deathbringer, as they refer to him. So you lose a potential Alliance member as they fall and join sides with the Empire, looking to vanquish Raithis and his undead minions and the Dragon Priests and keep them from overtaking the realm as they once did many years ago. Then you continued your discussions, again learning some bits and pieces of your counterparts as you kind of interacted with them. And then nightfall came and you got to sit down at a table with everybody kind of gathered around, spread out throughout the room and able to just intermingle with each other, having conversations again with some of the leaders of the various members of the factions, just trying to kind of let things go for a bit and take a step back and take a deep breath and understand the gravity of the situation and know that a peace like this could be everything that this realm needs. So as you're sitting there, some of you got some unique conversations that you were taking place in, learning a little more of why you are here and who brought you here, or a little more about the people that you knew and wanted to get to understand a little more. Sky Tarnith learned more of his mother, the assistant to Lady Gladamain, who was a strategist for the Gladamain, attempting to help them make the right choices, not just for the war, but for the people. As the night went on, Sky Tarnith would get many opportunities to talk to her, and some very emotional moments would take place between the two, finally getting some time to get to know one another. Rylan, on the other hand, had almost the opposite, as he was sitting at the table and was somewhat confronted by Bo Victus, the leader of the Alliance, and then pulled to the side by Lady Gladamain and discussed a few bits of information pertaining to him returning to the realm after being sent away so many years ago. Pandora got to somewhat reintroduce herself to Kai Gladamain, the youngest child of Lady Gladamain and the son of King Stormholm. Getting to have a conversation with him and kind of, filling in some of the gaps and getting to understand a little of who he was. The two would shake hands and go about their business. And then at the end of the night, Lorgus got to finally sit down and meet somebody who knew his master. The leader of the Flatfoot tribe, offering and extending a welcome bid for him to come and pay a visit to their home on Rent Key, to the northeast of the island that they were on. As the night came to a close and everybody having their own interactions and getting to know one another, morning would rise and they would prepare for this meeting for a treaty. Lady Gladamain spoke highly of both sides and what they have done for this, to try to mitigate the damage that Tyrus has caused in the realm. But it just didn't seem to be enough. While the leaders would give in and say absolutely they supported this treaty, not everybody was so supportive, as Ryone Dyle, Sky Tarnith's mother, would assassinate Lady Gladamain in front of everybody and call her a traitor. It sent a shockwave through both sides. Both kind of staggered backwards, not sure how to approach the situation, and it was Sky Tarnith who made what was ultimately going to lead to his death, as he lunged his dagger towards the king after his mother was chopped down by the king's guard for assassinating Lady Gladamain. As he threw the dagger and then recalled it back using his phrase, the guards would immediately pounce on top of him, but it was Mariel Gladamain who was able to put a stop to it and save his life, though possibly only for just a little while. And that That's where we ended our session last week, or a month ago. Wow, has been a while. So that's where we're at. Feels much like everything that is going on around you is happening in slow motion as the dagger kind of flew forward towards the king and then immediately flying back, and the guards going to chop him down but halted because of Mariel Gladamain. She kind of hovered over her mother's body, attempting to make sense of it all, and only spoke a few words and said, "Please, no more bloodshed today." Almost felt like time kind of stood still. Both sides would eventually back away, taking a little bit of time to kind of regroup from the shock. Skytarnith pinned to the ground and in manacles before you, all of his items quickly retrieved and placed into a small chest, locked away and carried off to the ships. Your last image of him being the few guards that were holding on to him, lifting him off the ground and making a slow retreat back to their ship. You look a bit further out as you turn around and start making your way to the ships as well. And you look out into the sea and notice the now dormant undead vessel of the Rotten Mangrove. As you approach, a bit curious as to what's going on with the mangrove, you notice the crew appears to be a bit confused. The magical properties of the undead ship are preventing the crew from doing anything on it. The moment they go to move the sails, the ship would fight back, preventing them doing so. It is now your choice. How are you going to get back home?
Did they take off the amulet and put it into the chest?
They took everything he had.
They took all of his stuff. They didn't take the amulet off of him. It's not like they kind of like ripped the clothing and stuff off of him, but they took any form of weaponry that he had and immediately yanked it off and put that stuff into this chest. I'm sure that by the time he makes it to the boat, they're probably going to strip him down and take everything from him.
I feel like we might need that amulet.
I'm not getting cursed.
Oh yeah.
We could probably just ask for a ride from.
Yeah,
Probably not Bo Victus, considering, but Paradris would probably give us a lift.
yeah. I mean, in front of you, both Bo and Paradris or Saren have their own vessels that they're taking. And you can easily hop aboard either one of them. There will be no issues for you to be able to do so.
All right.
It's probably in our best interest to distance ourselves from the Mangrove and Skytarnith for a while.
That makes sense.
For a while. He's
Forever.
going to be executed.
Yes, and loath as I am to miss that, probably should keep a wide berth all the same.
All right, so yeah, you have a few ships out ahead of you. The crew of the Mangrove slowly starts making their way over. Now not being able to operate the ship itself, will follow your command and go wherever you tell them to go.
So who do we want to hitch a ride with? Paradris or Bo?
Likely Paradris. We still have to make sure that his island is safe.
True enough.
Make sure the undead haven't murdered the everything.
The other thing you need to remember as well, you are 3 days from that deadline of the Tyrus's threat. The realm would be destroyed. So time is of the essence. You're going to have to make a choice based on that as well.
Was there somewhere we needed to be to deal with that, or was it just an open threat?
You don't really know. It was kind of an open threat. You don't know how to find Tyrus. You don't know how to take him down. There's still a lot of information that you haven't learned, and a lot of kind of blank spots in the knowledge that you've gathered to be able to even try to figure out where to go from here.
So, if my memory is serving me well, and it often doesn't, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, initially we went over to that island to go into the forest to find one of the Twilight Shards, but we didn't know which one, and it seemed like it was kind of an accident that we happened on the one that led to the one I picked up.
Okay.
Am I right on that?
Yeah, I mean, you were kind of led in that direction, though. You were kind of pointed away from the city of Nareen because of the undead invasion. Thanks to the death plague that had hit the city and basically turned everybody to just zombies. Anybody who had died from it. So you're kind of pointed away from that to kind of steer clear of the city until you have, a little bit better foothold before you move forward. So yeah, you were headed that way thinking that originally you were told that by, who was it? It was Skytarna's dad, actually, informed you that there was passage to the Crow's Nest Cove from within the forest, because that's why the pirates were always trying to take over Ashenport, because it was easy access from Ashenport to the forest and allowed them easier passage to where they wanted to go.
Yeah. But so wait, was the one that we found the one that we were directed to?
It was not.
Oh.
I feel like we should perhaps continue tracking down these shards.
There's just going to be one problem.
Oh, what is the problem, Forged? Is it a dragon?
No, it's not a dragon. It's Skytarna.
Oh.
He had your only passage to the Crow's Nest Cove entry. His amulet allowed passage.
Isn't it great that he screwed the pooch on?
We need the amulet.
Who here has high charisma?
I don't think any of that. I don't think it matters at this point. I don't think any of us are getting it back. Do you think you could?
I mean, I don't think that's too much to ask. If we can ask for his things, other than, of course, the murder weapon or the attempted murder weapon.
Yeah, so we should probably
the stuff not involved in the attack. We could probably.
So right now the current. Oh, he's breaking up really bad.
Okay, that's not just me then.
No, it's not. So the current plan for you is to try to retrieve this amulet. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's like the only logical move, unless we want to go find the ESS for some reason.
I mean, it's actually that might not be a bad idea too. They might know about where another shard might be.
Or maybe where Tyrus will show up.
There is an ESS presence on the island, correct, Forge?
Yes. Shannara, Inquisitor Shannara was on the island. You don't see her anywhere around you as you kind of glance around the docks, trying to figure out where she is. But you do know, obviously, you could go to the city of Bria if you wanted to, and go to the enclave there in the Bria sewers.
All right. So my thinking is this: one, we get the amulet back, and then we go. Although that's the thing with that one is that shard probably it would go to Skytarneth. So,
without a doubt, we should probably figure out where Lorik is as well.
So I feel like the better move here is probably to hit up the ESS and see if they have any leads that we could follow.
Yeah.
And plus, too, the other bonus to having the ESS around is the fact that you can always go to them, and in these situations, you can ask them to delicately help to take care of things. So while it would be pretty out of the question for you personally to walk up to anybody on the Imperial side and say, we would like to get his belongings, the ESS could be that middleman too. So if you wanted to go and talk to them and say, hey, we're willing to pay this amount of money to try to get his belongings back, that might make it a little easier for you to accomplish your goal. It's not guaranteed it's going to work, but it's something, All
right. Sounds like ESS then.
Okay.
So Rylan will go up to Paradris and ask if they can bum a ride.
Paradris, he gladly offers you a ride, but as you're kind of mentioning to him the path you're wanting to go, he kind of looks at you and says, unfortunately, I'm not going to the island of Kurth. I'm heading back to Rainhaven.
I really don't want to ask Bo for a ride. God damn it.
I mean, you can go with Saren. It's just going to take you longer to get where you want to go.
And at this point, I don't think time is a luxury that we can afford.
No, we absolutely... Time is not a luxury we have anymore. So Rylan will sigh, and then sigh again, and then slowly go over to Bo and be like, we need a ride.
As you begin to approach, Commander Argent kind of steps forward and kind of walks with you and says, that's fine. Send your men on. Bo Victus is not in much of a mood to talk right now, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Yeah, it must be really awkward seeing the guy he appointed as the leader suddenly become crazy.
Oh, well, we wouldn't want Bo to feel uncomfortable with anything. Lord, forgive everybody if Bo is uncomfortable.
It's funny. I was going to actually have her demand that Bo apologize to Rylan, but I guess can't really do that now. We need to ask him for a ride.
We also have Sky Tarnet's crew, as if they stick around, they're probably just going to get roped into everything that's going on with him right now, and I don't dislike them, so they're going to come with us until we figure something out for them to do.
Okay. So then, you gather your belongings and quickly make your way over towards Bo Victus's ship. You kind of stay on dock, are on the deck of the ship for a little while as everybody's kind of getting in and getting comfortable. The ship kind of pushes off from the docks and begins making its journey west towards the city of Bria, and it's eerily silent. Just about everybody is kind of taking all of this a little difficult, especially Sky Tarnet's crew, who's very much not understanding the situation that they're faced with. Down below in the private quarters, Bo Victus and Commander Argent quickly go downstairs, seclude themselves into the private quarters, attempting to help take care of or prepare for the things that are about to come. Is there anything you guys want to do during this almost a day of downtime travel straight to Bria.
I don't have anything, though.
Nothing specific.
Okay. After a few hours of kind of being out at sea, Commander Argent comes back out, kind of opening the doorway from the private quarters and heading back up to the dock, or the deck of the ship, kind of looking out, just kind of getting lost in everything. It seems obviously that she's just as upset about this as kind of everybody else is. Taking kind of like everything that's going on, it's kind of hard to fathom just how, especially for you guys. I mean, maybe Rylan understands a little more just coming from the islands itself, but everybody else, it's really difficult for you to understand just how meaningful Lady Gladamain was to all of the islands. Rylan, on the other hand, you get a good sense of it because you were here in all of those times when, you know, Lady Gladamain was the reason that, you know, certain people still lived and certain people survived, and the king didn't just, you know, cast aside everybody else. You understand that that kind of lacking that everybody now feels, you know, not having her around as like a point of guidance that they could go to and say, you know, they don't know how to handle things. Commander Argent taking it specifically hard because she, just like Bo Victus, worked very closely with Lady Gladamain whenever Gladamain was the leader of the Alliance. She kind of walks around the deck of the ship, again, very saddened by everything, and then walks by kind of where you guys are at, kind of somewhat quietly, kind of looks at everybody and says, I don't even know where to begin.
Oh, I don't have the words either, so...
Yeah, it's a real awkward situation. Yeah, wow, just breathless, no words.
Her son is behind all of this.
She, Commander Argent looks at you and says, Sky Tarnet?
Oh, whoop, nope, sorry, I got names wrong. See, this is what happens when you don't play for a month. No. Hold on, no, let me refresh that.
Whose son?
I was talking about the girl, or the woman who
Gladamain's
died.
son, right?
Lady
Kai.
Gladamain.
Yeah, Gladamain's
Kai.
son. Yeah, that.
Oh yeah, we're
asshat.
assuming that
Because that's the first it's been mentioned, and
yeah,
whenever
are we
you said,
assuming that
I think
Rylan,
we're the only
like
ones who
explained
know.
everything.
yeah, so she has no idea about this. So you mentioned that her son was behind all of this, and she looked at you, kind of thinking you were talking about Ryone, which was the assistant to Lady Gladamain, because Sky Tarneth was her son, and that's the only
Okay, I
connection
got
she
you.
can make. So she kind of looks at you a bit confused, like trying to figure it all out.
Kai Gladamain is Tiras.
She stops and thinks for a second. That doesn't make any sense.
I saw him cast magic to prevent his mother's resurrection, and then he teleported away, and he had an injury on his hand, much like one that Pandora put on Tiras.
The same one.
The exact same one.
She kind of looks and kind of looks back over at you and says, You're accusing the son of the king as to being the mastermind of his own mother's death?
Because that is such an alien concept to royal families to kill each other.
Likely he's not happy with the rules of Ascension.
He comes from a family where the females, the ladies of the household, are in charge. And despite the fact that he is the son of a king, he will never ascend to a throne. That would make even the most stalwart sort get a little bitter eventually.
She kind of stops and like all of this kind of filling her head, and she kind of shakes her head a bit and says that, I'm sorry, I can't believe that. Kai has been nothing but kind to everybody in the realm.
While it is bizarre, it does start to make sense when you consider the fact that Tyrus when we met him, he would often talk about how he was denied his birthright or something.
She kind of shakes her head a bit and kind of, squinting her eyes and thinks for a bit, and just after a few moments she just stops and she's like, I don't know that there's anything I can say to this. Maybe the ESS has answers, but this doesn't make any sense.
I'm convinced none of this. I haven't been able to piece anything together, but a queen being assassinated has happened in an area that I was twice. It's hard not to see a pattern there.
As you say that, she kind of looks at you and says, yes, but the last time it was at the hands of the Paradress.
Rylan just can't. Because he knows no one will believe his story anyway, so he just he can't say anything.
She kind of just stares off out into the water for a bit as it kind of falls silent as you guys are traveling, and she stops for a moment and says, Lord Victus is planning to hold a memorial for Lady Gladamain when we return to the city. I have a feeling that this is going to blow back on the islands in a way that we can't deal with, and we need to come together in solidarity and prove that we were not behind these attacks.
You've talked to Bo then?
She kind of nods. I spoke to him briefly once we got him to the quarters, trying to figure out exactly how we're going to deal with this, but there's so many unknowns and so many variables. The best we can do is...
You're going to give Sky Tarnith up.
She looks at you and just kind of nods.
Where's Bo?
She looks and kind of looks back to the stairs and says he's in his quarters. He's not taking guests, though.
That's charming. Rylan goes down the stairs.
Okay.
Pandora goes with them.
And she kind of watches and like gets ready to say something and then just stops. Like, she doesn't bother. She just lets you continue on. And as you make your way down the stairs to just below deck, and you find the private quarters, a single guard stands outside the doorway. The doorway itself is closed, kind of silent on the other side.
Rylan will approach the guard in a very clear intention of going through that door.
He initially puts his hand up. Go ahead and... Are you trying to, like, intimidate him to move out of the way?
Yeah, he's basically just kind of like storming up, like in a just try and stop me kind of walk.
Go ahead and give me an intimidation check, then.
Or he just kind of like rolls over on his back and just says, "I just let me in, please."
You walk up, your chest puffed out. You kind of walk up, and as soon as you stand toe-to-toe to this guy, who's about a foot taller than you, you immediately just start sobbing and fall to your knees. Please just let me in. The guard kind of looks at you, a bit funny, and reaches back and opens the door. He wasn't even going to fight you over it.
Good, I'm glad that that was cool. So then oh god, that's why you roll the dice, people.
That is why you roll the dice.
So he totally didn't just do that. He just probably looked really ineffective about the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
But he walks in and then just wherever. So he goes in the room and then he just kind of looks for Bo.
The room's pretty small. It has a couple of single beds, just like a small private quarters, like a couple of beds and a desk. Bo is sitting at the desk, his hand kind of covering his eyes as he kind of looking down at the desk. He has a notepad in front of him, taking the quill and ink, and he just kind of runs the feather of the quill over the pages, just kind of looking and reading. And as you kind of enter into the room, he stops and just kind of looks back over his shoulder, noticing that it's not Commander Argent, and returns back to what he was doing.
Really, that was the first plan that we had, was to give up Sky Tarnith.
He doesn't move, but says, "I suppose you have something better to say."
I just find it humorous that every single time that this happens, the idea is give someone up to the king.
He stops and lays the quill down on the desk, just kind of very slowly, just lays it down, and says, "Every time it happens. A man attempted to assassinate the king on a day of armistice, and you would have me just fight to keep him alive? You and your men attacked the king's land, and the best option that we had was to remove you from our realm to keep you alive. Tell me again how you plan to solve this without death."
I stood up for the island's people, Bo. You rolled over.
Bloodshed is not always the answer to every problem.
Because you were making such great headway. As people were dying, starving.
He stops and finally turns and looks in your direction and says, "It wasn't our people that was starving. It was yours. Poor planning by Baron Peridris. Not because of us."
That's how it is. The second that... So the island only stands united when there's no problems. When someone is in trouble and tries to solve the problem, oh, it's just their problem. It's their fault that it happened. Every single time, it turns into a scapegoat situation with you.
He slowly begins to stand up, and you can see he's just very calm and very serious, and looks at you and says, "I would allow my people to starve to supply food for your people. I sent food when you couldn't, when your people couldn't secure it. I ensured that whatever the king was going to be able to offer, I would try to do my best to do so for your people. And he kind of looks at you and looks down, like just kind of looking you over. And then stops and reaches back to his notepad that he had and kind of picks it up for a second. And he's kind of holds it up in like a kind of like showing you manner, and says, every time that Baron Peridris decided this wasn't enough, what did he do to try to solve this problem? His immediate reaction was to attack and fight and try to take over the realm because he felt that he was misled. I have seen all of the manifests from the king. The king sent ships with food. He showed them to Baron Peridris, and Peridris refused to believe it. I can't stop you from believing what you want to believe, but I can tell you, death does not solve your problems. If you want to fight for your friend, death is all that stands on the other side, and this armistice will end. A war will continue, and your people will die, just like ours.
I hate to interrupt, but I think Pandora got disconnected. And is currently in the
switched over to computer, I think.
Yep.
All right, there you go. And he kind of looks at you after that. Doesn't, like the very stern kind of look on his face kind of softens a little bit. And he kind of looks at you and says, of all the people who have been through the things that we have here in this realm, you should understand the plight of our people more than any. An armistice, a peace with the Empire, means prosperity for everyone. If we go against this now, this is the end. There will be no coming back. And there's no other way around that.
The man just saw his mother get killed.
His mother assassinated a would-be queen.
So that's the story? They were working together?
No. The story is the man attacked after seeing his mother was assassinated. We're not going to attempt to cover him up as an agent attempting to wrongdo the realm. We simply cannot associate ourselves with that. We are not responsible for what his actions were, as you should know better than anyone. Kind of thinks back. If I recall correctly, you had some misadventures of your own when you were in Kalito. Am I not right?
Which one was Kalito?
The prison.
That was not a good trip for anybody.
And he kind of looks at you and says,
Speaking of that, don't throw that in our face. We saved you.
He kind of chuckles and says, it's so easy for you to believe that it was just black and white. You broke into a prison and you freed me. Do you not believe you had help in doing so?
We had plenty of help in doing so. But the factor of the matter is, if we hadn't been there, you wouldn't be here right now. And the thanks that you gave me was, while sitting across from the king, decided to remind everybody at the table of what I had done.
He takes the notebook and kind of places it behind his back, both of his hands like kind of behind his back, and leans forward just a little bit and says, it didn't matter if it was you or the Empire or some random person that we pick up from the Sword Coast, I would have been freed before my execution.
But it was me, and it was those two.
And he stops and turns around, kind of turning his back to you, and walks back over towards the desk. Doesn't say anything, but takes a notepad, or the journal thing that he has, and places it back on the desk. And then stops, kind of looking down, and says, "And what would you have me do?"
Just anything but giving him up.
And he stops. And again, turns and looks at you. Almost accepting of the fact that you're trying to fight to keep Skytarnath alive and to get him freed. And he turns and looks at you and says, "Tell me in what realm of possibility I can do so without ruining everything for all our people."
Rylan clearly doesn't have an answer.
And he nods and says, "Yeah, I can't find one either." And so he goes back and again pulls the chair out and sits back down. Again, kind of buries his face into his hand, kind of like pinching at his nose, like pulling the skin from his nose, like just like trying to find an answer. And it's just nothing. After a few minutes of kind of silence, Commander Argent comes back downstairs, seeing everybody talking, or as she was coming down, hearing everybody talking, and then noticing the silence kind of falls over everybody. She kind of walks back towards the room, kind of peeking in and looking more specifically at Rylan, and kind of motions for him to step out.
Rylan does, but just before he actually steps out the door, he just stops and stares at the ground and just, with just a defeated sigh, he just calls back and says, "I'm never going to thank you for keeping me alive. And I'm never going to forgive you for keeping me alive instead of doing the right thing and keeping my parents and my brother alive in my place." And then he just leaves.
Okay. As you begin to walk off, Commander Argent follows behind, paying very close attention to everybody, offering anything she can, what little food or whatever if people are hungry. She just kind of wanders around looking for anything, any way to kind of get their minds off of everything that's going on. As you step out of Bo's private quarters, the guard pulls the door to, this time seemingly just barricading Bo within to keep him from being interrupted, while everybody else kind of goes and does their own thing. Is there anything else before we continue?
I kick and pick up and throw the nearest barrel.
The barrel shatters against the hull of the ship. Its contents, wine, spills out everywhere, covering the floors and making it a bit treacherous to walk on.
Rylan clearly needed that.
Lourdes?
No, nothing.
Okay. All right. So the travel back to the city of Bria is pretty calm, actually. Aside from, the occasional bits of choppy waves and such. No storms or anything impeding travel. The people being very quiet makes it almost surreal. It feels very out of place that you're even standing here on the ship and seeing so many people and nobody's talking. As the ship begins to make its way back to Bria and goes into the docks under the city, into the cavern docks that they have, you begin to make your way out back into the city itself. I'm going to finally put you on a map. The one you know so well.
Hey, this looks familiar.
Yay. As you begin to make your way back up towards the top level, again, this is even more surreal to you as you're entering, knowing that none of the people around you are even aware of the situation that the city and the people are facing. The city is its typical buzz, an active city, the market full of people, lively conversations, and music being played. Bo Victus steps out well beyond in front of you guys and starts making his way over towards the stronghold. The people watching him kind of closely, noticing his kind of quiet and somber demeanor, whispers begin to kind of spread throughout the area. But he heads off and makes his way inside the stronghold. What would you guys like to do? There's plenty you could do if you want. Literally anything.
We should check on those orders we placed.
Yes, that would be a good place to start, and go talk to the ESS and hopefully find something that will help us.
Okay. Yeah, so you're going to go pick up your orders and everything like that you had put in for weaponry and gear and stuff? Is that what's going on?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you can definitely do that. Restock your supplies, do whatever you guys need to do. Just, if you need to take any gold out or anything, you can feel free to do so.
I forget, do they sell potions of greater healing here?
You could have them searched for. You could go to one of the magic dealers and kind of ask for them. He may have them on hand, or he may be able to gather them in a day or two. Just depends. There are several magic dealers, or potion shops, or even some wizards have them within their small shops that they have.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably buy a couple.
Okay.
Do we have like a party fund at all?
I don't know. Have you guys been keeping a party fund?
Largely been keeping everything separate.
Yeah.
Okay. So I believe I was picking up a full plate +1.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna do that.
Alrighty.
And I'm sad I didn't get to steal that rapier from Sky Tarnith, because I really want a +2 weapon. I don't even care if it wouldn't be useful. With all of its secondary abilities wouldn't work for me.
You shoot Eldritch Blasts out of the sword.
Wrong person.
What?
I'm not the Eldritch Blast person.
Oh.
That's okay. You've only been playing with Pandora for how long?
Yeah. It's
Shut up.
fine.
I'm eating food, so my hearing doesn't work. Trust me, that's how it works.
So when you sell armor, is it at half value?
No, as long as it's not completely destroyed or anything like that, you could sell it for full value.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well then, so the armor from Skyturn of the ship was plate mail, and it was like really.
It was just
It
regular.
was like yeah, but it was like had a specific style to it. I think
It was the Alliance. It bared the Alliance colors and crest.
Did we salvage it?
Oh yeah, I took it immediately. But hey, you know, maybe it's worth a little more to a collector. I'm trying really hard to get more money. Anyway, I'm gonna sell that plate for
How much did you
1,500 monies.
1,500.
Oh, never mind. Don't ask me. I blew all my money building a coal.
And I did not sell my half plate, so I'm also gonna sell that for a little bit. So I just got a little bit of a windfall. Thank you, heavy armor lords.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm gonna go look for a goddamn magical weapon.
Yeah.
Because I really need one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were a couple of weapons in that stash from Skyturn's dad.
Oh yeah, did we ever identify all of them? I remember that some of them weren't identified for a while.
No.
I still don't know what the cutlass does.
You do not.
Besides the fact that it's cursed.
Mhm.
But hey, I mean, I wouldn't mind being cursed, I guess. So if we can get that and then get that off of Pandora, maybe that'll solve my problem.
Yeah. Is there a temple around that we can get that looked at?
Nope, that is on just outside of Ashenport, so it's on the other
Awesome.
island. Yep.
Bunch of godless heathens. They need Kaifon.
Is that what you're talking about? Your shrine?
No, I just meant in general to somebody who has removed curse.
Yeah, can someone like exercise the sword?
You could take it to the Temple of Faith. It may take them a while. The problem is when you go to show it to them and you get ready to remove it from your person and they go to take it, you immediately start to feel violent and angry.
Oh no, we want to get it.
Are they not able to decurse it while I'm holding it? Am I just too violent that they can't get near me?
Let's look.
I will put Pandora in a bear hug if need be.
So the biggest problem is the fact that they have to be able to touch the weapon. And every time you see their hands coming close and get ready to touch the weapon, you begin to like fill with rage. Because they're kind of like intruding in your space. You don't want them.
What if you look away while they're doing that so you can't see anything?
It's not seeing it, it's the actual curse. Yeah.
Yeah, magic works like ostriches, right?
Yeah,
You
sure
don't
does.
see it, it doesn't happen.
Bury
Okay,
it in the sand and nobody will ever know.
All right,
See?
so
Perfect.
so Rylan will go over to the clerics that are attempting to do this and be like, okay, I'm going to put her in a bear hug. You're going to do it as quickly as you can, and then I'm going to look at Lorigus and say, for the love of God, like cover her mouth because I don't want her casting those kinds of spells on us.
Oh goodness.
Or I could just try to stun her.
He's such a smart boy.
I
I was actually looking at what spells I could start casting once Forged.
Yeah, you definitely get this opinion that this sword is trying to prevent such a thing from happening. It's feeding off of Pandora and feeding off of her anger, and it's going to be pretty challenging to be able to kind of work around that. But if you can manage to keep her silent and not cast spells, you may have a little bit better luck with it.
Again, I could try to stun her, but it would require me to deal damage, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not punch my girlfriend, if you don't mind.
Alright.
Okay, so Pandora probably not getting suspicious at all about this like football-style huddle that Rylan has the clerics and Lorigus in.
She's busy defacing one of the shrines.
Okay, well,
Just
as long
writing
as you're keeping
Kaifon rules with a Z.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Rylan is going to walk over to Pandora and just kind of stand next to her and just kind of look at her and give her a smile.
You just smiling at Pandora then?
Telepathically, she's going to say to him, "I can read your mind."
Oh, okay. Then he puts her in one hell of a bear hug.
And I quickly cover her mouth
trying to pin her arms to her sides so that she can't like cast anything and all that stuff.
Oh boy, opposed athletics. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so you go to put her in a bear hug and she immediately tries to fight out of it. I need an athletics check, Rylan, and athletics or acrobatics from Pandora.
Now, do I have to treat this like the weapon is making me want to do it, or should I use my player judgment where it's like Pandora knows that this is bad and probably shouldn't fight it?
Oh no,
how assertive is this weapon being?
This weapon is so ingrained into your head. It is basically if it says kill this person, it's going to make you want to kill that person.
All right, so I'll roll acrobatics, and hilarious as this is, I need a nat 20 in order to beat him.
Rolls the nat 20.
Oh, that would have been great. Yeah, nope, I can't stop it.
Okay, so quickly,
Do I
Rylan.
need to roll anything to see if I can like keep her mute?
You absolutely should, because I will start casting.
Yep. You should also roll athletics against her. I'm guessing acrobatics because it would have nothing to do with strength at this point. Her trying to avoid you.
Probably a disadvantage.
Yeah. Now at
I
disadvantage.
would imagine disadvantage because I got her in a bit of a hole.
Thank goodness for that.
Thank goodness for that, indeed. Come on, man.
He had one job, Birdbrain.
Oh, this is going to be rough. Okay, so Lorigus reaching in to try to grab onto Pandora and like cover her mouth and keep her from saying anything. She's actually kind of like bites at your skin, and it quickly makes you pull your hand away. And as she does, she begins to feel that overwhelming urge of death calling to her to kind of stop whatever is about to happen.
Oh, well, she had a 6 from disadvantage, so his
oh, right.
11
No,
should...
you're right. Oh, I'm sorry. I read the 17. No, so Lorigus does it. Never mind.
Aha!
Oh, I had forgot. Disadvantage. You were right. So yeah, Lorigus is able to quickly run in as Rylan has Pandora kind of wrapped up into this bear hug and immediately places his hand over top of her mouth to kind of muffle her and keep her from talking. Only a few seconds are really needed, but as this goes on, and as soon as the cleric notices that you have her kind of bound up, quickly walks up, grabbing on to the sword, one hand placing it over by the hilt, the other grabbing onto the edge of the blade, and about 5 or 6 seconds pass, and Pandora suddenly just feels a calm fall over her. As if the curse has kind of lifted its grasp on her, and she can now kind of act on her own.
The curse has been lifted.
Lorigus, don't take your hand away for a second. Pandora, are you mad at me?
She shakes her head no.
All right, I think we're safe.
Removes hand.
Eldritch Blast.
That will let her go.
I drop Black Tentacle centered on them. No, she's good.
Someone goes to pick up the sword. It's like, ooh, I wonder what this does.
So yeah, Pandora kind of felt the calm fall back over her, giving her a chance to just kind of stop and take all of this in, understanding now how the curse was kind of affecting her. Though she never truly tried to use it like in combat or anything, but every time, so the part of the curse was every time she had a hold of that weapon and went to take it out or use it or transfer it to someone else, anytime that it was doing something other than her using it to attack, it was just causing her to become increasingly angry at everything, and just wanting to just filled her with rage and made her want to kill everything.
They always ask, where is Pandora? But they never ask, how is Pandora?
Oh, it's true.
All right, so the curse has been lifted. The weapon itself, without the curse being on it, is actually a +2 cutlass. It's basically just a +2 longsword that's reskinned as a cutlass. Or is it longsword? No. Looking 1 second. 1 second. I think it is actually. Yes, it is. It is a +2 longsword that, like I said, it's been reskinned as a cutlass.
So, what do you think the odds are if I pick that up, I'm going to go kill Crazy?
Not if they were good at what they said, and I didn't feel like murdering either of you.
Okay, and then he'll reach out and kind of pick up the sword.
And immediately you're filled. No, I'm just kidding.
Immediately you kill everybody.
You
And
immediately
immediately everyone in a 5-meter radius dies.
No, you pick up the sword, feel its strength in your hand as soon as you pick it up. Kind of has a very ominous look to it. You know, a skull and bones making most of the hilt for it. And along the blade, some etching, some really unique kind of like pirate-esque etching around the edges of the blade. But otherwise, it doesn't do anything negative anymore.
It's like that meme where it's like, when a piece of equipment doesn't match your current kit, but its stats are good.
Yeah. And the way that I envisioned in my head that this would work, if you didn't lift the curse and you started using it, every few attacks as they would land would then begin to increase power. So as you land an attack, after your second attack in a row of landing and making solid impact, you would then get an extra +1 to damage. Then after a couple of them, you get another +1 to damage, so on and so forth. So it continued to build that rage, and your attacks were becoming more and more ferocious as you attacked, until combat ended, and then you sheathe the sword and the effects go away.
Oh man, sounds awesome.
But that was basically how I envisioned the sword.
I mean, maybe we don't have to get it. Okay, that's good. So that takes care of my issue with overcoming magic resistance.
Is it still technically magical at this point?
It is. It's a
Okay.
+2, so yes, it is still a magical weapon. The only thing it removed, or only thing they did, was to remove the curse that was on it, which gave it additional properties.
I feel like that's why Skyheart and the Stad might have been so pissed.
Oh no, he was pissed because I unintentionally killed him.
Okay, fine.
I'm not going to sugarcoat that. That happened.
It happened.
It did happen.
All right, so you've got a new weapon and new armor.
And a bunch of money.
And a bunch of money. Anybody else need to do anything here?
How much do health potions cost?
Mm-hmm. Did you look them up on...
50.
It's 50 for a basic potion, but it's...
50 for a basic potion.
Aw, dang it. I'm slightly broke.
I funded a cult, so I'm broke right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have money because I sold a bunch of armor, so I'm trying to see...
I wonder if there's anything I can sell. I have no idea. How much does, like, a normal spear sell for?
Look it
Not
up.
a lot.
Alright, then whatever.
1 gold.
Hooray!
I mean, it's just a stick with
Just a stick with a pointy end.
But it's used with... Yeah, I can't come up with anything.
No.
Yeah, no, I didn't expect anything, so... Yep. And I'm not selling the magical one.
So a bit of time passes as you're kind of doing all of this other stuff. And then you see somebody very familiar. You remember this person from with the inn, the Victus stronghold. The female Victus guard named Anel, who originally introduced you to the ESS. You see her walking around a giant stack of papers and a hammer and some nails, and she's going around and posting a notice on some of the boards and posts and things of that nature throughout the area.
I will go and take a look at it.
I'm sure this is nothing to be concerned about.
As you begin to walk over and take a look at this, kind of pull it off of the board that she had just attached it to. Not really, you're kind of like skirting around, not trying to like actually interact with her. And as you walk up to the board and you grab this notice off, you give it a read, and you quickly take note that it's from Bo Victus. And it reads, "Death is the destination we all share. It's how we live our lives that make us different. On the day of our realm's armistice, Lady Gladamain was assassinated by one of our own. Claiming her to be a traitor, our dear friend's life was ripped from us and from her family as they could only watch. On this day, we will honor Lady Gladamain's wish and look to mend the wounds of her loss. Should you wish to pay your respects, starting tomorrow eve at the center of the town, we will set up a memorial in her honor. We must use this moment as a warning and a new beginning for our realm, where the Alliance and the Empire can work hand in hand to once again better our people." And at the end of it, it reads, "Long live the Alliance. Long live King Stormholm. Long live Lady Gladamain."
Well, that didn't take long.
But no mention of Skytarnith.
I wouldn't imagine that they would.
In fact, what you get from this letter is they are pinning all of this on Ryone at this point. Skytarnith's mom. In case you forgot the name.
Yeah.
Never actually got to talk to her, so it means very little to Pandora.
But yes, you get the idea that they're not pointing the blame at Skytarnith. They're pushing the blame off on her for her actions. And again, no mention of Skytarnith because it would appear they don't want to get people riled up over that.
Yeah. And also, I'm still assuming, like, not many people, like, even are aware of Tyrus's involvement in that.
No, I mean, only the ones that you have mentioned. So you mentioned it to Kasara, Commander Argent, and that's about it. That's the only person you mentioned it to so far.
I definitely will have left a note to the Empire people for someone to deliver to them, telling them what I saw. But we can work that out later.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you're planning to head to the ESS, so it'd probably be easy to give them the note to pass on. Okay. What else are you doing?
Well, I guess we have to find the ESS now.
Probably a good idea. I can shop later. And I'll give you some money too. And if either of you need any money, I'm sitting on a small fortune.
Sounds good. Let's get rolling.
Let's get rylanding. Yeah, it's not correct.
No.
Should have been what it could have. Okay, so let's head over to the SS and see what we can learn.
Okay.
Also, I'm not shopping because I might have to drop a small fortune to get help.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you're kind of wandering the market, you remember the passageway down to the ESS was located within the market. You kind of wander around looking for Dramil, the half-orc merchant that was working the fruit stand within the market there. And as you're kind of looking for him, your eyes finally kind of glance around, and you finally see him. And the kind of gruff half-orc looks in your direction and kind of grins a little bit, and then quickly speaks up and says, "Interesting weather these days, no?"
Can I roll history check to see if I remember the thing?
Sure.
I think it's something the storm rolls around.
You begin to say the phrase, but you kind of stumble on some of the words, and instead of giving the proper phrase, you give him a phrase that says something along the lines of what you were just mentioning: the storm rolls around. And he kind of looks at you a bit. Again, you thinking to yourself, trying to come up with the right word. He looks at you a bit quizzically until the passage behind you begins to slide open, revealing Inquisitor Shannara on the other side, who appeared to have been heading out and going somewhere else. But then she quickly looks up and notices all of you and says, "Oh, don't worry about it, Dramil. I'll take it from here." And he kind of sidesteps and allows you guys to pass through and make your way through the tunnels into the Bria sewers, and eventually leading you through the hidden passage back where the ESS has their enclave.
So, how have you been?
As you begin to talk to her, you notice she is entirely silent. She's kind of leading you on, going straight towards the entryway, giving the final signal as you enter into the enclave. And then as you enter, you notice that the number of people under the employ of the ESS is almost doubled within this enclave. With the people from Nareen kind of making it here for safety. The room is abuzz, and the people are kind of frantically walking around, and she stops as you enter in and takes a look around and looks back at you and says, "You have to forgive us. It's not safe to openly talk about things right now. With all that's going on, there's a lot of focus on us, and we need to be very careful.
Of course.
And she stops and says, since the armistice, I've had our people working double time to get to the bottom of all this. The assassination of Lady Gladamain was far from coincidental, but we're still missing several pieces to all of it. Our men have kind of looked into it, and it would appear that Ryone was subjected to some sort of mind control.
Well,
maybe we can sell them who was controlling his mind.
Yeah,
except probably not, because it wouldn't really take a genius to figure out who.
Boy, do I have a theory for you.
And she kind of looks at you. Okay, what theory do you have?
Kai Gladamain.
No way we have to charge them because we don't have infinite money.
I mean, you have to pay us.
She continues walking towards the back of the room. As you... did you actually tell her,
No,
Kai?
I didn't actually say... I mean, Ryland's worked with them before, so... He's not gonna hold up former colleagues for money.
But it would have been such a good idea.
Yeah, it would have been, but Ryland's not super jokey.
As she begins to walk away and hears the name Kai Gladamain, she stops and takes a look back at you and says, well, it doesn't make sense that he would do such a thing. It's, I guess, not impossible. And as you're watching, she the look on her face, she is very... She's not emotional about any of this. Like, this is business to her, and she understands that. And so she's thinking a little more logically about the situation than, say, Bo Victus would, because he has a very big emotional attachment to the situation.
He's a jerk, and I hate him. I can tell you, because I was there, I witnessed him casting a spell, or finishing casting a spell, to be more precise, and then teleporting out. And there's something a little more interesting about our friend Kai Gladamain, but this one, as I'm sure you can appreciate, is worth quite a lot.
And as you say that, she stops and starts takes a couple of steps forward. Kind of pulls her glasses that she wears down the ridge of her nose a little bit, and kind of looks over him at you. Says, continue.
What if I were to tell you that Kai Gladamain was not entirely who he appeared to be? What if I told you he had quite the double life he was leading?
As you kind of mentioned that, she kind of looks you over and says, well, that's not out of the ordinary. It's quite easy if you have the right skill set, and I've known the Gladamain for quite some time, and they are quite knowledgeable and quite powerful. I believe what you're experiencing is a bit of a ruse. You see, while I don't doubt that there's a possibility that Kai Gladamain is Tyrus, perhaps you and the others haven't really dealt with Kai Gladamain before.
It's entirely possible, but I can tell you for certain that the man who was at the treaty signing was Tyrus, based on an injury that he sustained.
She kind of nods to you and says, that's a very likely situation, and I completely agree. There's far too many there are far too many coincidences with all this for it to not just eventually add up and everything to make sense. And she stops and thinks for a second, and She turns back around and says, I mean, after all, the Gladamain are responsible for the ESS. And again begins walking away, back over towards her desk.
I'm going to take a quick little look around to see if anyone's walking towards us with daggers.
Also, why are the lights not on? I feel like it'd be hard to look at papers if you can't see anything.
Not everybody suffers from not being able to see. And it's a cave.
Fair point.
It's a cave. They can have small torches or magical items that allow them vision in the dark.
Alright, seems correct.
I will be right back quickly, sorry.
Okay. And I will give you... Yeah, you have sight. You can see things.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, she begins to walk away and slowly kind of heading back towards her desk. And as she starts walking back there, Pandora, are you still here too?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, just making sure. As she starts kind of wandering back, she stops and again kind of like turns on her heels and looks back at everybody and says, I know you've seen it. The advanced technology that the Gladamain have, their state-of-the-art prison system. Do you think it was simply luck that you were able to ascertain the correct information to successfully infiltrate their facility on your own? She kind of clears her throat and looks at you and says, Gladamain, Lady Gladamain, wished it to be. She allowed you to free Bo in hopes that the king and Bo could put aside their pathetic fighting and fix what was wrong with our realm. Each and every single one of you were drawn here back to our lands because of her. Because of the Gladamain, if not directly from the hand of Lady Gladamain herself.
After all that's happened, this somehow doesn't really surprise me.
Another one of those perfect coincidences.
She looks and says, but there are some rumors. Rumors of how the Gladamain became powerful, of how they've built their new home within years instead of centuries. We haven't been able to confirm the rumors, just that they exist. It's rumored they have knowledge from beyond our realm. Somehow, some way, they have ushered that knowledge into the Living Isles.
Just gonna involuntarily take a quick glance at Pandora.
Sorry, what did you say?
No, don't worry about it. Or at least that's how I think patrons work.
So after kind of saying that, she stops and again kind of looks back at everybody and says, but let's be honest, we know why you're really here. What can I do for you?
We were hoping to get some more information on these shards of twilight. We only have 3 days left to be prepared to deal with Tyrus as it is.
She kind of looks at you and kind of looks at Lorgus and Rylan and says, well, perhaps we have information we can give you. Kind of stops and like fumbles with her little notepad in her hand and then looks up and says, how much information do you require and what leads do you already have?
I think we should wait for Rylan before we do anything else.
Okay. Well, if that's what we're doing, we'll take a 5-minute break.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so 5-minute break. We'll come back and we will continue them gathering information from the ESS. So stick around. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate it, and we'll be right.
Back, sorry.
I started a 5-minute break.
Okie dokie. I thought for sure that she'd be somewhat surprised about all that information I just gave her.
I mean, she was a little bit.
Just like, was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I'm like, no, come on, be impressed.
Yeah.
No, what did I miss?
Yes.
She mentioned that she kind of questioned to you guys, asking, asking if you kind of understood how the Gladamain have gotten where they are, and their advancement in technology. And then she mentioned, do you think it was luck that you were able to infiltrate their facility to free Bo, and that it was Lady Gladamain who actually ensured that you could get him out, thinking that having Bo free would allow the king and Bo to put aside their differences and try to fix everything.
I mean, I suspected.
And then she mentioned something along the lines of them having kind of ushered in knowledge and power from somewhere beyond our realm.
Are we going to Sigil?
Let's do it.
Can we go to Sigil?
No.
Oh.
Everybody gets mazed.
I want to go fight the Lady of Pain. Stupid people.
And then whenever we headed off to break, she turned and basically said, but that's really not why you're here. Let's talk about what you want to know.
Oh, look at you, Mrs. Spy Lady, always with the but I know why you're really here.
We started asking about the shards, because we gotta get a lead on that.
I mean, she does kind of know why you're here.
Of course, she's a spy. She'd be a pretty bad spy if she didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
But if she was a really good spy, she would have known he was Tyrus all along.
I'm back.
Welcome, babes.
Cool.
So hi chat, how's everybody doing out there? Hope you're enjoying the session as always. About to get back to it in just a minute. Just kind of taking a deep breath here and regrouping before we go on. Because this can take 5 minutes or an hour or two. Depends on what they want and how much detail they're going to get into and how much gold they're willing to spend. Because that's the ESS way. So, and we jump back into it. Okay. Okay. So, she turned around, looking over the group, and basically invited you to find out what it is you're there to ask. Or ask the questions that you are there to get answers to.
So far what I understand is we need to find the location of the fourth Twilight Shard, because the third one that was apparently in the forest is the one for Skatarnet.
I mean, we're probably going to want to track it down anyway, but we're running out of time, and I'd rather find one that you can use.
Yeah. How do we know it's for Skatarnet, though?
We don't.
Oh.
We just made the logical pirate connections.
Logical pirate connections.
Pretty much, yes. But I'm the one with the cutlass now. I'm the pirate now.
Look at me. I am the pirate now.
All right.
Anyway, so Rylan will say, so we are, I'm sure you know, we are attempting to track down the Shards of Twilight. And, well, the one that we were pursuing is slightly cut off from us at the moment, so we were hoping that you might know the location of yet another one that we could hopefully put our efforts towards.
As you mention that the other one was cut off, she stops and reaches down to kind of her notepad that she usually glances through all the time. And she starts flipping through a little bit and looks up and says, "Oh yes, Crow's Nest Cove." And she stops and kind of clears her throat and says, "Well, there is one other place that I can think of that you haven't checked yet."
Wonderful.
And she looks over at Lorigus and says, "In fact, I'm sure you've already been told where that is."
It's the dwarves. I bet it's the dwarves.
Is it the
Flathammer
tribe island?
And she nods and says, "Yes, the island of Rent Key. It's the former home of the Gladamain. Their city capital, Sidore, was established by Tyrus Gladamain himself. When the Gladamain left Rent Key to move to Clycair, afterwards the Flathammer decided, and after the Flathammer had a bit of trouble with the Fire King Freyas, they moved to the island and took over. After all, it was perfect for them. They had a forge and everything. They were quite happy with it."
Oh, I'm sure Kai is going to adore us running all over the place in a former Gladamain stronghold.
She kind of looks at you and says, "Oh, no. Don't be mistaken. When the Gladamain left the island and moved to Clycair, they took everything with them, including the tomb of Tyrus himself."
That figures. Hero's gonna tell Pandora to write something on it.
Kind of looks kind of over the group and says, "Only problem is you're going to need to find a key."
A pendant, I assume.
And she kind of nods and says, "I don't quite know where the earth pendant is, but if..."
Now we're just missing the air pendant.
She kind of thinks for a second and is like, "If I can manage to track it down, then I would let you know, but have a feeling you're going to need to go somewhere else to get it.
Naturally. Speaking of needing things, Sky Tarnith had the water pendant.
And she kind of nods and says, "It's unfortunate, that one."
Yes, but it would be more fortunate if we had the water pendant.
If we had some way to retrieve the articles on his person that weren't involved in the attempted assassination.
Yes, that.
She kind of looks back, kind of over her shoulder, and then looks forward and says, "Well, perhaps I can help."
Would you? That would be so good of you.
She turns and continues back, heading back towards the back table, to which, sitting on top of it, is a fairly large wooden chest.
Ryland just leans over to Lorigus and says, "I bet they already have it."
I whisper back, yeah, they probably do.
She doesn't even pay attention to you, or doesn't even turn to acknowledge you. You see her kind of unfasten the latch on the chest and raise it and says, "You know I can hear you, correct?"
Oh, I wasn't whispering that quietly, yes. It was more of like a whisper shout.
She looks in. Within the chest lies all of Sky Tarnith's personal effects, including the water pendant that was around his neck.
I got momentarily excited, wanting to grab the Crod dagger. Then I was like, no, that's the one he threw at the king.
Yeah, it's probably not there. I would disenchant that in a heartbeat, though.
Oh, I would have sold it for as much money as we could get.
The second Pandora picks it up, it just kind of flies into the nearest direction of Sky Tarnith, just kind of trying to drill its way through the wall.
God, that would be his last words, wouldn't it?
Just while he's being executed. Does the prisoner have any final words? For Crod.
So she stops and takes a look back at you and says, "We know what is about to happen to Sky Tarnith, and it's not going to be pretty. Before they loaded up the rest of their ship and put him on board, my men were able to secure the chest before it left the dock. We figured, while it won't help him in his death, it would maybe give you some guidance on where you should go. Sky Tarnith will likely be held long enough for a very public execution in Kalido. The people will be looking for a scapegoat. Even if his actions didn't directly change anything, they can hold someone from the Alliance accountable for Ryone's actions. And his attempt on the king was enough."
Of course. May I? And then he kind of gestures to the chest like he wants to go and look to see what's in it.
She kind of steps to the side and motions that, yeah, you can take over.
All right, I will examine the chest for Sky's personal effects, just taking inventory.
There's no dagger of venom in there, is there?
Oh, probably not. That was the murder weapon.
That was the murder weapon, and no, it was taken.
Oh, one can hope.
So the two weapons that are missing, are the two noticeable items that are missing from this, are the dagger of venom and the 4-Crod dagger, for obvious reasons.
Yes,
and probably the 17 knives that he quote-unquote stole from pirates.
Wait, you don't think he did that?
No, whenever he would have a knife thrown at him, he would just keep it.
mean, one is a good number of knives to have.
So what is on his person? Because I honestly wasn't keeping track of his gear.
Okay. His personal effects include a bunch of random kind of things. He has the pirate key that you guys picked up that allowed you access into the captain's quarters on the ship. He has 2 potions. No, he has a bunch of potions, actually.
It's holding out on us.
He has a potion of growth. No, 2 potions of growth and 2 potions of what?
Diminutiveness?
I think so, yeah.
Being smallness.
Being smaller.
Potion of shrink.
He has the +1 rapier that he had gotten. He had the cask of rum, the water medallion, and then various just random items like, a hooded lantern and crowbar and things like that.
Didn't he also have like a box of letters that he wanted us to keep safe?
He has a box of personal effects as well, yes.
He did have that really nice +2 rapier, if I remember right.
Yes, that's what it was. It was +2. Mm-hmm.
Neat. So, would there perhaps be a deed to a ship somewhere in the personal effects box?
No.
Pandora calls dibs on the box of personal effects. I want this. This is mine.
Okay. We should probably have this pendant looked at to see exactly what curse befell Sky.
Wait, did they remove the cursed one?
Mm-hmm.
That was a water pendant.
Mm-hmm.
No, I thought there was a different pet.
Nope, it was a water pendant.
Oh.
It was
Is
cursed.
that,
Okay.
Is that what we're going with now? That's why he acted the way he did?
No.
Okay, good. I didn't want to make excuses for it, because he's been this way forever.
But so his rapier wasn't a +2. Yeah, it was. It was a +2 rapier.
It was all
but it was the
life-stealing.
life-stealing rapier. Yes.
So +2 and life stealing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so good.
And he still
Rylan,
uses
you
one
need to use that instead.
Yeah, I might use that instead. I mean, you can use with finesse weapons. You can use strength or dex, so there's no reason I can't use it. So, yeah.
Yeah, we can sell the.
Yeah, let's sell the cutlass that makes people go crazy, but doesn't anymore.
Yeah, we won't tell them about that part.
This cutlass was wielded by a mighty pirate captain from the pirate family known as the Dileys.
Oh, we won't mention that part either. They're probably branded as traitors forever.
Yeah.
So you can now see that sword, Rylan.
Yes.
Who needs a healer when you have the lifesteal sword?
Yeah, really.
Were those
Nice.
the only 4 potions? Just the growth and the shrink?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was 2 of the
Demunitization.
demunitization and 2 of the growth.
I wonder why he needed these.
I don't know.
Now, sometimes when half-elves and humans just feel really
Anyway.
small about themselves, they need growth potion. Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, I think that's everything. That's everything in there, anyways.
And so they didn't have any more of a lead on the Earth medallion. We need to find something for that, right?
Yeah, whenever you asked, they didn't have a location or know where to find it.
Right.
Should we also ask about where Tyrus might exist?
I don't know. Are you going to ask that?
I mean, I'm
I
asking
suppose
him.
it wouldn't hurt.
What do you know of Tyrus's whereabouts?
That one, she kind of steps forward and kind of looks at you and says, "That one will not be free." Hey, thanks, Rendis.
Of course.
Appreciate the sub. She continues walking forward and says, "How much is this information worth to you?"
The safety of the islands and the empire. Really important. Thousands of lives are at stake.
She kind of chuckles and says, "No, no, no.
We have 4 very valuable potions we would trade for this information."
She looks directly at Rylan and says, "The Empire already has this information."
So, I don't know if you got the memo, but we're all working together in order to save everybody.
Again, she looks at you and says, "We have been pretty generous with you so far and given you plenty of information for free. We wouldn't want you to take advantage of our services and us not feel fairly compensated."
You know, you work with people, and suddenly you don't.
There's a
And then
nice
it's all-
boat that we can give you.
I'm not... Okay, first off, out of character, that is my boat now. I am taking that boat, and I'm going to sail that boat, and it's mine. Anyway, in character, how much will the information cost?
She looks at you and then looks back at the others and says, 700 gold.
Fine. And then he will give 700 gold.
You have 7?
Yes.
And she takes the gold, doesn't even bother counting it. She just takes it and kind of tosses it back to one of the people, one of the other workers, and says, "There's a sage in the Empire who has unlocked a very important bit of information about your attack on Tyrus. We are gathering what information she has, but our reports have been sporadic at best here lately. From what we understand, he's drawing his power from a shrine somewhere on Glycare. When we have the official update, I will send you the information immediately. You will know exactly the whereabouts and how to get there, everything you need to know."
And people say that you can't come across good information anymore.
And she smiles and kind of looks at you and says, "It's just a matter of having the right amount of coin, now, isn't it?"
Typically, yes. I also, if possible, could you deliver a letter to our counterparts, the heroes of the Empire? I have information that I feel they probably need to know. And he'll take out like a letter that I'll write out later and give to you.
Okay. Yeah, and as you kind of mentioned that, she nods and takes the letter and kind of looks back at you and says, "Is there anybody else you would like to have see this?"
Whew. In a perfect world, I would hang it on every single signpost in the islands and in the empires, decrying what I saw. But alas, it's not a perfect world. And then he kind of looks at everybody and just says, who else do you think we should tell about what Kai did? Because people certainly need to know, but I certainly don't know everyone who should be told.
Do you just want their champions to know? It might be prudent to let the king know too.
And then he'll look at the lady and to say, would they know who it came from? Well, obviously they would, because I would want them to know who it came from. Some discretion, I think, would be in order in delivering it to the king, because if he catches wind of the sender, he would be less than pleased, but it should reach his eyes, certainly.
As you mentioned that, she looks at you again and says, for 100 gold, I'll deliver it straight to Mariel Gladamain, and she can dispatch it as she sees fit.
Excellent, though just be sure to tell her that it absolutely has to get to their champions.
And she kind of nods and says, I have it on good authority that the champions of the Empire are en route to Kalido now as we speak. Should be just a matter of days before they get there.
Excellent, and then
a day.
He will give her the 100 gold for that message delivery.
Okay.
Is there anything else you two think that we should ask?
No, I think we've covered everything.
That seems about right.
Excellent.
As you guys continue your bit of conversation, trying to kind of figure out what to do, Shannara kind of stops and thinks for a second and says, don't forget that the city of Nareen is still a disaster. The undead have overtaken the city limits, and entering by the main gates is going to be certain death. Traveling by sea would be advised, and you should prepare yourself for an army of the undead if you ever go there. Word has it that thus far, the village of Ashenport is still secure. The men have kept everything safe and managed to fight back any of the undead that have managed to wander their way through the Mystic Wilds and made their way over to Ashenport, but there's no guarantees how much longer that is going to hold as well.
This is technically my fault.
She starts turning around and making her way back over this way, and the agent beside her reaches out and hands her a note. And she takes the note and stops, like dead in her tracks, and looks it over. And then immediately turns back to each of you, giving you a very serious look.
This can only be good.
And she reads it out loud, and it says, per order from Bo Victus, notice to the Alliance Militia. Should Skytarnith Dyle somehow live and step foot on Alliance soil again, his life is forfeit.
Well, that's just the cherry on top, isn't it?
Oh, yes, I just love being reminded how that man loves to exile people for their own good. Thank you for giving us this information.
She nods, taking the piece of paper, handing it back to the agent, and saying, "Ensure this message doesn't reach the Isles." And then begins to walk away.
Ensure the letter I gave her doesn't reach the Isles?
No, the letter that was sent by Bo Victus.
Ooh. Well, Rylan won't say anything about that because screw Bo Victus, but yeah.
Screw that guy.
Him and his justifiable reasons for everything that he's done.
What a horrible.
What an asshole. Okay, so I think
Also,
we're done
thank
here.
you for the host, Rendus. Very much appreciate it.
So,
Alright, so where would a medallion of Earth reside?
well, they're gonna find that for us, but if I had to guess, probably dwarf lands, maybe, but that I'm not willing to go out on a treasure hunt without a map. So it was implied somewhat that this water pendant has a curse upon it,
Mhm.
or at least has some sort of magical means in which to control the rotten mangrove. That may be linked to a curse.
We should get it looked at as well.
Yes, because that would take care of our boat situation, and I would prefer to figure out exactly what this curse does before we start willy-nilly putting it on. You know, like sensible people.
Okay. So is that what you're doing? You're gonna try to take it and get it identified and figure out what's going on with it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, we have a cutlass to sell for more money.
Formerly amazing cursed cutlass. No.
Yeah, formerly
Formerly
amazing
amazing.
cutlass that if it were still cursed, I would absolutely be selling this rapier.
All right. So I'm assuming you're going back to the Temple of Faith to get a bead on what this curse is.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. As you kind of wander around looking for anybody who is a little more proficient in the arcane arts than even you are, kind of stumble across an older gentleman who has spent a long time in his life just understanding curses and being able to he has like a keen eye to be able to pick out the kind of curses that certain items have on them. And as you begin to approach him and hand him this medallion, he kind of looks it over for a second. Obviously, since you didn't put it on, you don't have to deal with any of the effects of it. But he takes a look at it and notices the glowiness to the emblem on the front of it. The water, or the drops of water kind of a breathing kind of glow where it fades in and fades out. And he kind of looks it over for a second and then flips it over to the back and begins to look at it a little closer, and spends about 15-20 minutes just focusing on the magic surrounding it. And after a while, he's able to decipher that the curse was basically one that when the wearer had the item around their neck, they basically couldn't die. Every time that they would die, their body would deteriorate a bit more and a bit more. And every time their soul would basically resurrect within a point of origin determined by the wearer. In this case, had Skytarneth had that around his neck, though the item is cursed, there's nothing stopping somebody from taking it off, and the curse is kind of taken off of them. So had he had this around his neck when he faces execution, his body would have been revived, and probably revived on the rotten mangrove.
Huh.
Well,
Pandora just lets out a ha.
Maybe we should have left well enough alone on the pendant front.
No. Let's see how this plays out.
So Rylan will look at the guy and say, is it linked in any way to a ship? Because it seemed to give the wearer the ability to sail the ship.
And he kind of looks at it, and as you're kind of questioning that, he's kind of nods and says I think it's less a specific thing and more something that the person wants. If, say for instance, you owned a horse and wagon, you could create basically an undead version of this thing and use that as your mount and go wherever you needed to go, and it would be at your beck and call the moment that you reached for the medallion. It appears that perhaps this was attuned to the ship, and it allowed him to call it from wherever he was and bring it wherever he needed it.
So, how do you turn a boat undead?
Remember when we found the boat?
Yes, I feel like it was pretty easy to see how that came about.
Boats aren't alive, guys. Come on.
That's true. I'm mostly in my head immediately when he said, you can make a mount with it. I'm like,
Good.
I'm a cavalier. That would absolutely be good.
Could the boat be cursed?
Could the boat be cursed? Could be.
Is the boat cursed?
What? No, that's ridiculous.
Maybe the boat was cursed, and
Maybe.
that's why you could, it was kind of dying and falling apart.
I mean, it's possible.
But still floated somehow.
I mean, it was in remarkable good floaty shape, so...
Remarkable good floaty shape.
Yes, absolutely.
Quote of the session.
Mm-hmm. So, outside of being revived and slowly turning into an undead as you constantly die... I hereby decree this water pendant the Dark Souls medallion.
Nice.
So it's attuned to the boat, and you slowly become undead, and that's pretty bad.
Well, I mean, you only become undead if you die, so...
I mean, that's true.
If you die while wearing the pendant.
It's true.
It's probably better
It
than
doesn't have any negative effects until death.
Correct.
Seems to be what he's suggesting. Okay.
You
and
do...
they took it off of Skytarnith, no problem.
Yep.
Is what the story was.
The story that you're getting is that they were able to pull all of his personal belongings without any ill effects of doing so.
Imagine if he had that on and suddenly he just appeared back on the ship.
Okay. Going with the information I have, I'm going to put the pendant on.
I need you to roll me a Constitution save.
Nah, not yet.
Aw. Wait, yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, there
And
may
then
be...
this guy's just like, by the way, I'm completely senile.
But as you do continue to ask about this medallion, he, as far as he can tell, that's it. That's everything he can gather from it. He doesn't know the things of Ezator's magic, of how it can be used as a key to unlock gates or enter into portals or things like that.
Yeah, probably for the best that we don't give him that.
Yeah, so he has no idea of the nature of what this medallion is supposed to do, just the end of the curse itself, and that's really even on that, like he kind of struggled through this, and he was finding the information as he was digging through. But even that was like, it was quite some work for him to be able to identify what he was able to find for it.
I wonder if the other pendants do anything now.
I mean, I don't know. So yeah, I'll put the pendant on, I guess, and what do I feel, oh DM in the skies? Do I feel a boat?
Do you want to feel a boat?
Not really. Funny story, actually. You know, in 3rd edition or 3.5 edition, they had a wondrous item, the folding boat. That was like...
It's in 5th edition, too.
It's a feather in this edition.
Oh, is it a feather? Well,
No, there's a collapsible boat.
Oh. I have a one on my cleric that has a feather. It's a feather token that I can turn into a boat that at any time.
Cool too.
Yeah.
I used one, so one of my characters had one, and it folded up into kind of like this very manageable, throwable thing, and there was a monster kind of charging us, and I'm like, okay, DM, I wait for the monster to open his mouth, then I throw my boat in, I throw the collapsible boat in, and then I shout the trigger word,
right.
And then the boat just exploded inside of its head, and I immediately killed it.
That's awesome.
Completely ruined the boat, but it was fine.
So, yeah, you get this sense that your attunement to something is dictated by the wearer. And if, like in Skytarna's case, while he didn't immediately identify that he wanted the boat to control, it knew enough of him when he put it on to sense that he wanted to be part of this boat.
No, he definitely wanted the boat.
He absolutely
he definitely
wanted
100% was conscious of just wanting the boat.
Yeah, so as soon as he put it on, knowing that he wanted to gain control back of the boat, the item immediately attuned to that item, or to that ship.
I see.
So in your case, while in your head you're thinking, cool, a boat would be cool and all, but you wouldn't have to.
I mean,
maybe like a dragon or something.
Like a rideable dragon would be pretty cool too.
Dragon's probably not going to happen. If you're looking for a mount of sorts, though.
So there's 2 ways to play it. Certainly, definitely a mount of some kind would be really helpful, and that would completely tie into him being a cavalier and getting bonuses while on horseback. We need a boat, and Ryland...
Though granted, we could probably just borrow a boat. And
we could.
You're literally in the biggest naval shipyard.
Oh, absolutely.
And also,
we just need to stop losing them. This is like
your
4th boat.
Yeah, this is like your 4th boat.
It is. So my feeling is Ryland would feel somewhat responsible for Sky, and he sees so much of like what had happened to him, where he's like, even if you live, like, you're getting exiled and you're getting thrown out. So I feel he would think, I need the rotten mangrove, because in some sort of insane way he actually manages to get away, I can give it back to him. And in meantime, we can use the boat to get around. So that's how I think he would think of it.
Okay.
Though I think the one issue is the rotten mangrove is a day's sail away.
Magical boat.
Yeah, I want to hope magical boat. Otherwise, yeah, pretty much I just used up another one of our day. Yeah, so that's how I'm gonna reason Ryland's thoughts right now.
Okay. So you're going to attune to the item of the boat as your focused item.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What else?
What? Like I can attune to another thing?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I mean, what are you guys doing?
Oh,
We need to go sell stuff.
let's go sell. Now that we've saved his boat, let's go sell the rest of his belongings.
Plot twist: we sell the boat too.
I mean,
Would you like a magical boat?
No, we scam them by
Money
selling
for
the
that
boat, but it only answers to us. So when we've taken the money, we can just call the boat.
Oh, Rylan, can we do that?
No, I'm good.
I mean,
That
you
would be pretty bad.
you pretty willingly just took a man who's pretty much like a walking dead man right now, took all of his belongings, and just gonna hawk them for gold.
Well, I'm not.
It's
Wait,
what
hold on.
he would've
Everybody,
wanted.
everybody, pause. Are you really trying to make Pandora feel bad for selling all of Skytarna's stuff?
No,
Okay,
All
good.
right.
I'm just
go.
rationalizing for everybody, even
No.
those playing at home, that's what we're doing here.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to sell any of Sky stuff. I'm actually keeping the rapier. I'm keeping that, but the cutlass, I'm going to sell that, which came off of his body, or it came off of his dad. So,
Mhm.
and I don't feel bad about that because he tried to kill me.
First thing, Cutlass was mine, so it's not even his. So,
I did just take it from you, yes.
well, we're pooling money. You didn't.
That's
take
true,
it.
yes.
It's just that I'm a caster, and there's very little that I need in the way of magic items.
Indeed. Wouldn't mind a cloak of protection. That'd be rad. I'm just going to stack AC.
Yeah, I probably should start planning for the end game because, like, 1 or 2 good hits and I'm dead.
In game may not be what we think it is now.
At this point,
That's
yeah.
true.
Who the hell knows
That is
what's
true.
going
I mean,
on anymore?
So, and that's the biggest thing is like, yes, it's scheduled to be a PvP thing, but depending on how you guys play it, I mean, like I said, I wasn't going to completely close the door on the idea that there could be peace, but let's be honest, it's going to be tough to achieve.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
that's like
I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't hate that idea. Like that was
Mhm.
a really like fun alternative to the way things had
Yeah.
been going.
who knows. So I guess we're gonna carouse.
I took a game theory course over the summer a few years ago. I'm sure I can work it out.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So let's find
Totally.
let's find a place that would like to buy a formerly cursed pirate cutlass.
Okay. Let's see. 1 second. So as you kind of wander around, you're looking at some of the various magic shops, looking to find somebody who's willing to take, just taking various magic items, possibly reselling them or things like that. You do stumble across one hut that is a little different. It's not, the proprietor's a bit kooky and weird. Like, there's just a lot. Yeah.
Is he the guy who tried to sell me the armor?
Yes. Yes.
Great. I love this guy.
And as you walk up and remembering him from your past situation, you walk in, notice the heavy armor that he had mentioned that he had for sale is missing. But as you walk in and hand him this the cutlass, he looks it over and just kind of grins a bit and says, yes. What do you want for this?
Do you have anything interesting that would be worth trading for it?
Interesting. And he thinks for a second and just kind of looks around and kind of looks under his kind of tabletop here, and he's like, well, what kind of interesting things do you want? I mean, I have plenty of oddities here.
It's a bit of a long shot, but do you have something that would, say, maybe instantly incapacitate a demigod?
Oh yes, I keep a.
Specific.
He looks at you and says, "Oh yes, I keep tons of those right under here," and then just kind of chuckles because he doesn't have anything.
Yes, it's called putting a soap in a sock and then swinging it around and then hitting him on the back of the head.
Oh, where I come from, we do it with gerbils.
It's kind of messed up there.
It's from a Filthy Frank video, of course. It's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have in the way of cloaks?
In cloaks, you say?
Pandora, I washed the.
Wait, don't you have a cloak?
Doesn't smell.
I do, but I'm looking at magic items and I stumbled across the Cloak of Displacement. And actually, reading into it more, it sucks in 5th edition.
But don't.
It gives disadvantage on attack rolls, but if you ever get hit, it immediately stops working for a round.
Wait, you have a robe.
Yeah, I do, but I'm not looking for me.
Oh.
I'm just seeing if he had any cloaks. But yeah, I have the Robe of Stars.
He kind of looks at you and says, "Well, I have a few. There's nothing too serious here." And he kind of looks and he grabs one, kind of pulls it out. It has a really weird texture to it. Like as you kind of look at it, it almost looks like it's like pieces of like dried clay, but it's actual fabric. Like you touch it and it's soft to the touch. And he says, "This might be helpful to one of you." And he hands it forward, revealing to you it's a cloak of protection.
I wouldn't say no to more protection.
Fortunately, I'd imagine it's kind of hard to fly if a cloak's covering your wings.
Yeah, probably. How unfortunate.
Pandora, do you need a cloak of protection?
I'm at a 14 AC, but I also plan to never be in melee range if I can help it. But do we know how much protection it offers?
Not without spending a bit of time with it.
Okay. I'm just double checking my attunement stuff to make sure I'm not over my limit. I think I just have the robe and the rod. The shards don't need attunement, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
While they're doing that, Rylan will ask, I know some wizards have magical bracers that protect them. Do you happen to have any one of those?
He kind of looks around and says, "Well, no, but I think I have these. Hold on."
Okay,
He goes in the back room and just hears a lot of clattering.
He does bring out a set of bracers, but he kind of plops them onto the table and says, "I'm not exactly sure what they do, but I'd sell it to you for cheap."
How cheap?
One second.
And while she's asking, she's gonna turn her glasses on to start detecting.
He's like, he kind of looks at it and says, "I'll sell it to you for 50 gold.
What school am I detecting? Am I watching it?
You are detecting abjuration.
Interesting. Okay, I'll put down 50 gold for it.
Okay.
Maybe it's the bracers of armament.
And I'm definitely not at my cap, so if we want to pick up the cloak, we can.
Yeah, we can trade the cloak for the cutlass. I think that was what he wanted to do.
What plus was that cutlass?
2.
Oh, that is not a good trade for that. Might want to get him to upsell some extra items. For
Oh
that,
yeah.
'cause no, +2 is really
Plus 2 is
high
pretty
quality.
good. So, Rylan would say the cutlass is very powerful, magically enchanted. The cloak is good, but is there something else perhaps you could offer so that it's a fair trade?
He kind of looks at you and says, "Fair trade? What are you talking about? That is fair."
It's definitely more fair for you than to us.
Kind of chuckles and, yeah, maybe you're right. And he thinks and says, "Oh, what else do I have?" It's like, "Oh, I got a pendant that perhaps you would like." And he kind of scrounges around in the back looking for this pendant. And as he kind of walks out, he kind of holds it out in front of you. As you kind of like reach in to kind of take a look at it, he slowly kind of pulls it away from you a little bit. He says, no, you have to look. You can't touch this.
Okay, I will look the pendant over.
He's like, it's going to cost you a little gold, though.
And I'll look at Pandora to kind of like look at the pendant to see if, just to make sure that it's magical and what school is on it and all that.
Yeah, I'm keeping my glasses going. When am I picking up on that?
You are finding... Oh, what school would this be?
The School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah. Trying to think of what school it would be, but I don't see it. Hold on. It is the School of Conjuration.
This is interesting school.
Mm-hmm.
What did he say it was?
Conjuration.
No, the what effect it would do. What did he claim it would do?
He didn't tell you.
Yeah, he didn't say anything.
And he said
just
it was
said,
very expensive.
But
Boy,
I
I wish that appraisal skill was still a thing.
Indeed. Okay, so the cloak and the pendant for the cutlass and a little extra gold, then.
The cloak and the pendant?
Yeah, because we're going to get the cloak of protection.
And then what he has in his hand?
Yes.
And you're offering... What is the rarity of the Sword of Blue?
If it's a +2, yes, it's a blue.
Okay. And what else?
Some money to cover the rest of it.
As you kind of turn to him and ask him about the amulet, he kind of looks at you and says, "This amulet's quite costly. It's 6,000 gold." And his eyes kind of light up, and he looks at the sword and says, I'll give you, and kind of stumbles over his own words, like trying to like think of just the number that he wants to see. And he says, I'll give you 3,500 gold for your sword.
So wait, the difference would be 2.5k.
And we're also getting the cloak for that, too?
Mm-hmm.
I have it. I do have it, but this is like we're kind of blind shotting on this pendant because we don't know what it does except conjures something, which could be cool.
Well, I mean, if he scams us, we can sell him the boat and then scam him.
Also true.
That's true. So, okay. So, Pandora's got the bracers. That was their own thing. So, Cloak of Protection. And this pendant for the sword and 2.5 gold. 200, 500 gold. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've made worse purchases in my life than this, so why not?
After spending a bit of time taking a look at the cloak after you've made your purchase, you find that it is a cloak of protection, gaining you a +1 to AC and saving throws. The pendant takes you a very long time to identify. Very, very long time. But after you do, this is what you find out. If I can open it. I'm trying to open it and it's not letting me open it and share it.
Is it the pendant of waste of scam?
Yes. Give him all your money now.
Oh no.
I already did.
Can I drop that over? Can you give me that, please? There we go. And silence falls over the crowd.
Well, so me and Lorigus absolutely can't let Pandora have this because then we'll never see Pandora again.
What?
Huh. Interesting, because Tyrus doesn't reside. Sometimes he goes to another plane, sometimes. I think. Interesting.
You guys want to go on a random planar adventure?
Yeah, let's just, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's just go.
Yeah, we're going elsewhere.
You know what?
And
Let's go hook up with the Empire guys and be like, look, we can just leave. We can just bail and we can just get out of here.
Forge instantly regrets what he's done.
Oh no, I don't.
No,
This was intentional.
Yeah, I have it. Is there any? So, just out of curiosity, I'm sure the answer is no, but it would be pretty funny if this was the solution to this whole thing. How, at a scale of 1 to 10, how earthy is this pendant?
It's not.
Okay, I didn't think so, but
No.
I thought it would have been pretty
No,
funny.
so to give you a description of what this pendant looks like, it looks like a black onyx ring with like glyphs kind of written around the outside edge of it, and it's tied by like a leather string that you can tie around your neck. It doesn't look very flashy. It's very basic looking, but after you kind of learn more of the amulet, you realize it's a pretty damn powerful thing.
Well, if all else fails, we can have someone run up to a particularly bad person who hopefully can't plane shift and fail the check.
Pretty sure Tyrus can plane shift.
Who said anything about Tyrus?
That's a good point. Yeah, so I'm going to hang on to this for a little while until we figure out what to do with it.
That is rude. I am hurt. You don't trust me with it.
Oh, we just gave you a cloak of protection. It's a both. They're both neck slots. Okay, you can't double up on neck slots.
I do have to get rid of the necklace, which is sad. Do either of you want a necklace of adaptation?
If at any point you need the amulet, I'll take it, I guess.
I mean, it gives you an advantage against harmful gases. You won't Dutch oven yourself anymore.
Gross.
Dutch oven?
Don't
ask.
Don't ask.
Just look it up on your own.
Viewers who are watching, don't look it up.
We apologize. We apologize for her actions.
I'm not sorry.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't be.
Okay.
Nope.
So now what? You have some pretty fun things.
We'll travel to the plane of reality and steal a nuke.
Wow.
So, I guess. So it sounds like we have a bit of an undead problem.
Yeah, we should probably deal with that.
And we do have the Pendant of Water, so we could theoretically go take that course again while we're waiting for the Earth Pendant. But the important question is, as I walk to the docks, is there a magical rotten ship waiting for us?
Have you summoned a ship?
I'm going to summon a ship by being like, "Oh, pendant that I wear around my neck, you once were worn by a man who put you on without
All right,
knowing
let's
the
speed this
consequent
up.
fine." Yeah, I try to will the ship here.
And you watch just out into the sea a bit, far enough that you'll have to get a rowboat to get to it. You watch as the rotten mangrove slowly kind of comes up out of the water, kind of like bursting out at the end, and then kind of lowers and levels back out and just kind of rides on top of the waves.
Rylan looks just completely just overjoyed. Just like, yay!
It worked. Okay.
Actually impressed that worked.
This guy's hard as watching the streams, just like, God damn it.
Hey, Sky,
Don't you do
it's
it.
my boat now.
I'm the captain now.
I'm
Okay.
the captain now. Okay,
So-
so let's get a rowboat. And wait, so the ESS lady did say if we were considering going to deal with the undead, we might want to get help.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you kind of get the impression that trying to take Nareen back is going to be really tough by yourselves.
Maybe we should plane shift some stuff and then grab, like...
Okay,
So-
you might want to read that a little more closely. The person who does it also gets plane shifted.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. Like, maybe we can go somewhere with something helpful and we borrow it for a little while. I don't know what planes exist, okay? So I'm just...
You especially don't know them in my
So we are
game.
not giving him the necklace.
Yeah, I feel really secure in the fact that I'm wearing this
also
now.
because I have, like, an intelligence of not enough.
Of not enough.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so your courses of action. So let's
please.
let's take a look at this. You have a lead to go to Rentkey to go and meet with the dwarves and understand the history of the Gladamain who used to live there before the dwarves came there. And hopefully find something there. According to the ESS, they believe there is another shard of twilight there.
With a missing pendant, though.
Yes, but you're missing a pendant to be able to access it. You also have the lead of Nareen and going there and trying to solve the undead problem, which is probably going to take some help. My suggestion would be to avoid Nareen because it's currently safe as long as you don't travel there. So right now the city of Nareen is blockaded off. The gates coming into the city are closed and barricaded. The undead cannot escape. They can try to go into the water and drown, and yeah, that ordeal. Unless we do water zombies, and I don't know that I'm ready for water zombies.
You should always be ready for water zombies.
And that's why they kind of pointed you towards, if you're going to approach the city of Nareen, it would be best to do so from the sea, so that you don't open the gates and then unleash this army of undead upon the people of Rainhaven.
We've got a bit of a poor track record with that, don't we?
Yeah, you do.
Yep. Okay.
Then there's also the groaning sounds of the undead coming from the labyrinth of the morning dragons and that portal, which you somewhat believe is now opened again and allowing passage. And then your medallion that you currently have, the only knowledge you have of it is telling you to also go to the Mystic Wilds and find passage into the Crow's Nest Cove hideaway. So,
okay.
That's everything.
I mean,
so my votes would probably be go to the dwarves, because it's entirely possible that we could find the pendant there. Maybe they have it. Who knows? And Lorigus has a quest to go there. And then we could go help Peridris out with his undead problem. That is possibly our fault. It's really hard to tell who's to fault, really, for things.
Okay.
And so, yeah. So those are my thoughts. I think we should probably leave Nareen alone, because I would prefer not unleashing a second undead horde on the world.
What do you mean second? This is the first time we've ever undeaded, right?
Sure, we'll go with that. It's a lie, but we'll go with it. So, Lorigus, you want to go meet some dwarves?
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
Let's go meet some dwarves then.
Though,
Hopefully,
I mean,
Peridris.
and I'm saying this, is it possible to, teleport anywhere you want with the amulet? It says so long as you're familiar. Does that mean you have to have been there before?
Yes.
Oh.
If you have to be familiar with somewhere, you have to be able to know where that is. So, let me say, for instance, I'll give it to you like this. You go to Rainhaven. You know when you're in Rainhaven or in Nareen, you remember the Cistern. You remember the Broken Bridge. You remember specific locations in the realm that you can pinpoint and say, this is where I want to go. The way Plane Shift works is you have to know something very specific. Generally, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, you have to have been there yourself at some point. Is that correct?
Usually,
Let's find out.
You have to, as far as I can see here, you have to have either been there or know more of its existence than just, I want to go here.
It specifically says that you are familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've been to the forest before, so in case if the Dwarven Island doesn't turn up anything, we can just teleport.
I mean, we could do the dwarf thing and then completely bypass the need to travel multiple days, and we could just teleport there.
But we don't know the dwarf place, that's the thing.
No, we go do the dwarf thing, and then we teleport over there.
But they do. They've been there. They just don't
Because
remember.
Pandora has a shrine there, which I think she knows quite a bit about.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Detail.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like once we go to the dwarf place, and then like once we go to the places that we haven't been to before, we just teleport to wherever else we need to go.
That is the idea, yes. In practice, who knows if it'll work like that, but for now, I think it's probably the smart play to go handle
All of our
Lorgas's
affairs at once.
Yeah, if we can go to the dwarves, because we can sail there, and then maybe, hopefully, we can get the pendant to work. The idea that if we screw it up and get teleported randomly, kind of would be a bad. But I'm willing to take that chance.
Yeah. Also, could we try again if we teleported somewhere that doesn't result in instant death?
I mean, it doesn't say it's only a single use per day or anything like that, technically.
Alright, well, so long as we don't teleport into the black hole of fire, we should be fine.
The plane of everlasting torment.
Well, if it's everlasting, that means we're not quite dead yet, so should be okay.
It's a Denny's, by the way, viewers at home. That is the plane of eternal torment is a Denny's.
A Denny's.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think the plan is Dwarflands. I'll also pick up Sky's crew and be like, hey, so ship's back. You guys wanna come sailing again?
Yeah.
This crew are definitely just increasingly confused at the random string of events that has happened.
It's just madness to them. Yeah, they will hop aboard. They're not... it's all a bit odd, to be honest. But yeah, they get aboard and help you along. Obviously, the ship kind of does its own thing. You tell it a destination, and it goes to that destination. Let's do this. So here's your biggest problem.
I have a lot of those, but...
You do. Where you are located, right here, and where you are going, up there. It was a day of travel from Sanctum of Yaros here to Bria.
We're gonna run out of days.
Oh boy, yeah, there's no time.
However, you do recall one thing. Your very first day as you arrived to the islands, you made a stop at Rent Key. Mostly because Skytarneth recalled something from his childhood of Lady Gladamain calling that her home. And thinking that she would be able to help guide him in the direction of his parents, you did make one other stop.
Now I know why he gave us the pendant.
Wait, did we actually do this? I have no memory of it.
Literally, session 1, you come here, you meet a dwarf that is sitting on the side of the docks in this area. And the boat pulls up, and the dwarf tells you to go somewhere else because he doesn't... The Alliance isn't taking visitors here. And he pushed you away and told you to go somewhere else, at which time Skytarneth opted to float through the center of the islands and make his way over to Ashenport, where the Rotten Mangrove got stuck. And thus the story comes full circle, and you now have access.
Okay, so...
But herein lies the problem.
We can't teleport the entire crew, can we?
You can't. You can teleport as many people as can fit within 15 feet. Is that correct? Yes.
Seems to be.
Yep.
Yep. You can. Rylan knows this area because of his past being from here. Is how I'm going
that's
to
a good point.
allow it.
I would probably have traveled all over these islands.
The others, had he not had a history within this realm, I would not be allowed to have him teleport you there because he wasn't there to witness you guys going there the first time. But because he does have history here, he knows where the charring wastes are, so he can easily just take off and go where he needs to. And lead you guys there if he so chooses. But it is a amulet
DC
of the plains with a DC 15 intelligence check.
Yep, and I have a -1.
Yeah.
What is the worst possible thing that could happen with us getting randomly teleported anywhere on the plane? You tell me that right now.
Not just that, but if you fail or if you roll high
it's
enough,
like anywhere.
It'll take you to any random plane of the DM's choosing. That could prove pretty interesting, couldn't it?
I mean,
yeah.
it would be an interesting way to basically go to the Empire side and say, hey, guess what, you won.
You win by... Well, actually,
Because
no,
the
Tyrus
guys
wins.
are
wins.
not here anymore.
You win by default.
Okay.
Well, so long as they defeat Tyrus.
Yeah.
So, it's fine. It's whatever.
Though, I mean, we should probably
Are you
have...
sure you don't want me to do it, Mr. -1?
What's your intelligence?
Better than a -1.
Is it a 0?
No, it's a 1.
Oh, mine's also
Wisdom.
a 1.
Wisdom is my dump stat.
I think I already attuned to it, which is the problem.
Yeah, but you can take it off and
Yeah, you
unattune.
that's
can
true.
when the attunement breaks, but
Yeah.
we would have to spend another hour to attune it to.
Mhm.
Okay. I will give it to Pandora, and then I will be like, but I want it back when you're done.
Oh yeah, sure, don't
yes.
worry.
I am.
I'll bear hug you
this.
again.
Just don't invite
Okay.
me, I guess, this time.
So you guys spend a couple hours with Rylan kind of losing his attunement to the item and Pandora attuning herself to it. And where are you planning to go, Pandora?
I plane shift them all to Kaifon's realm. No, I'm kidding. We wanna go.
I was slightly terrified.
Charring waste.
All right, so you pinpoint your thoughts back to the wastes and the docks that you remember passing by as you were making your way to the Isles here. And you focus on it deeply and try to find the right path to make it there. And you grab onto the pendant and you use plane shift. Go ahead and give me an intelligence check.
Hoo boy.
Boy, here I go rolling again.
Oh, god damn it.
Son of a bitch.
Uh,
But see, if you had rolled it, it would have been a...
Yeah, give me an intelligence check, Rylan. I'm just curious now.
Oh yeah, you would have.
All right.
You would have fucked it. All right.
Okay, Pandora, give me a D100 roll, please.
Oh my god. Oh my god!
Oh boy!
God.
And with that, you gather everybody together, you reach up and you grab onto the pendant, certain that you know exactly where you are taking everybody. You close your eyes and you blink out of existence. everybody around you watching as this happens, all of the crew members aboard the Rotten Mangrove, you blink out of existence and you're teleported somewhere else. And we'll find out where that is in 2 weeks when we return.
Oh my god.
Hooray!
So,
oh boy.
Tell Snow if he wants to play an extra planar creature. It's possible now. God damn it.
He has to come in as one of the hippo people.
Make him a hippo person.
This is working about as well as I thought it was going to work.
God damn it.
Oh no. We were all played for fools.
Played us like a damn fiddle.
I mean, either way, you could have taken the ship and you could have traveled there. You could have maybe taken the amulet into the forest and seen if there was another passageway.
Hey, there's no time for regrets anymore.
Nope, we are full YOLO planar hopping.
Also, to be fair, this is more interesting.
This is definitely a thing, and I'm definitely going to be... I'm so excited, because this is exactly what I wanted to happen.
DM?
Yeah.
We technically have a summonable boat. Spelljammer!
Spelljammer!
What's Spelljammer?
It's a summonable... it's only summonable within the realm, though.
Ow.
Oh.
Technically, it would only be summonable here.
Damn, I was really excited for Spelljammer.
We need to end up in Tyrus's bathroom or something.
So, what Spelljammer is basically it was an addition or kind of like an adventure in older D&D where basically you would go traveling throughout the plains, literally sailing on a ship that was like designed to go like it was basically a spaceship. Basically, but it was magic.
You were on magic pirate ships that could travel through the
different
D&D
planes.
version of space. Yeah, and they had the planes separated as like planets and stuff, and it was It was basically fantasy space Star Trek.
This is gonna be fun. All right, so with that, I'm going to end the stream, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about this because this is going to be interesting.
This is going to be very exciting.
It's going to be fun.
Well, so long as we don't get teleported to the plane of magic non-existence, we should be okay to try again, right?
Oh, I'm sure we're going to end up in hell or the Feywild.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be something. Like it's DM's choice, so he's going to make it work, and it's going to be fun. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
All right, I'll be right back. All right. Deep breath. This is perfect. This went exactly as I wanted it to go. Because now I have more story to give. And it's going to be fantastic. And I am so excited. Okay, let's do music here, right? Thank you for being here. Don't forget tomorrow is Fell Entropy. We return with our dinosaur riding, so that's going to be exciting. Tyranny Tuesday, Wednesday is Empire's Return. So much stuff about to happen. It's going to get insane around here. I appreciate you being here so very much. We are going to go over to our friends at Castle Mac, who are hosting a really cool session at Poe's Museum in Richmond, Virginia. Go over and enjoy the hell out of this, because I am sure it's going to be fun. Thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for our Fell Entropy game. Until then, have a good night, and I'll see you then.